All right. All right. Well, look, we are here at the time in the evening, which is my favourite time in the evening because I get to stop talking. It's probably your favourite time too. But more importantly is this is the key topic that we've got for tonight. So in the wings there, we have waiting Colleen Woodstock, or CJ, and she's going to be talking with us tonight about the 15 strategies to guarantee success online and offline. Now, Colleen, I've known Colleen for a long time. I think it's been ages, isn't it? So we worked together on live events when they were holding live events, and Colleen's been working with entrepreneurs, some large entrepreneurs here in Australia. She's been working with large business in Australia. She's had an insight into some of the things that they do, and she's helped them to get some of their business strategies working so that they are able to be successful in business, generating leads and sales and maximising the opportunities that are there. Colleen's in Melbourne, so she's inside because they can't move very far these days, although I think it's getting a bit better now, but she's used to this online world as well too. So I'd just like us all to give Colleen a big warm welcome here tonight and hand over to you.
Hello, how are we all? Everybody can hear me okay, I hope? Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, thank you for all those apps. I've made good notes about those. There's some real great ones there. The designer looks fantastic. I'm on to that. Because I must admit, I like just being able to generate graphics on the go. So that's awesome. I'm not a graphic designer. That's one thing I'm not. All right. So I'm going to share my screen now so you can see my presentation. Just give me one moment and I should be able to bring that up. Hang on one sec. There we go. Okay. All right. Let's hope you can see this okay. Can everybody see my screen? Excellent. All right. So I'm going to start my presentation. All right. So as the fabulous Nick said, I'll be talking about the 16 strategies you must know to be successful online and offline. And these are literally strategies that you can apply in any economy to make sure that things flow for you, really guarantee that you are doing all the right things. Okay. So this is also going to include your mindset and the things that you need to be thinking about to ensure, because ultimately one of the strategies is that it starts with you. Okay, so look, COVID-19 happened. Yes, I'm in Melbourne. We were in full-on lockdown for a very, very, very long time. Oh my goodness, I don't think I've been stuck with my children and my husband like this ever. So it's been interesting. But now what? It's been a really tough year for so many businesses because I'm involved in a lot of business networks and I'm hearing pain from a lot of places, because people just don't know where their clients are at. Therefore, they don't know where they're at. And that makes for a lot of uncertainty. Now, what I say to them is now's a great time to ensure you've got the strategies in place to really maximize your efficiency and effectiveness and really try and get better results with fewer resources and with your expenses. So again, these are the 15 strategies we're going to be talking about across any industry that work, no matter what business you're in, no matter what, it is that you do. Okay. I think possibly e-commerce might be slightly different, but regardless, if you're in sales and marketing in any way, shape or form, then these will apply. Okay, so while I listen to me, I think Nick's done a really good job of stating why, but I just thought I'd mention it here. I've worked with big corporate clients. I've worked with very small clients. I've worked with medium clients across the board, like, football clubs and the AFL, right up to sort of, the big ones like National Australia Bank, Origin, Australia Post. The biggest deal I've ever done was back in my corporate days. Mind you, I was working ridiculous hours, up to 70-hour weeks, some weeks. It was kind of crazy. One of the reasons I'm now in my own business, because it was almost too crazy. But yeah, I got my biggest deal being $54 million annually for one of my clients. And that was while I was managing about 7 or 8 others at the same time. So, looking back, I say that because these are the strategies that I use. They're no different, no matter the size of the deal. All right. So that's something I really want you to just think about, is that these strategies generally work no matter what the size of the deal is that you're going after. So if you can just take your focus off that and you focus back on doing the day-to-day things that really matter and thinking the way that you need to think, then, I can guarantee you're capable of that too. Currently, I'm running Wisdom in Business, and that's a 6-figure consulting agency to local and international companies, which I really enjoy because it's great when you can work in your Ugg boots. That was my goal years ago in your home office. And ultimately it revolves around the sales and marketing, which is lead generation, systemization, automation, content that converts, things like websites, landing pages, copy in your emails that go out to people to build the relationships. Joint venture partnerships is a big one, and I can talk to you more about that at a later stage. I think Nick's already invited me back in the next month or so, so I'm really looking forward to talking more about these specific strategies you can use. This is a bit more broad brush, but very important to get your head in the game. And these work online and offline. Okay, so this is the beauty of it. Again, it just works no matter what industry you're in, online, offline, and essentially, no matter what it is that you do. And that's what I love about these strategies. So hopefully you'll get some really good gold nuggets in here, because honestly, this has taken me years and years to figure out by doing. Okay, so I'm walking the talk. So I also train business teams and consultants specifically to systemize their online businesses and those of their clients. And that includes online and offline events. As Nick was saying, we've been running events for years and years and years behind the scenes for very successful entrepreneurs. And as a team, and ultimately, we can teach people how to do that. And the same rules apply online. There's just a little bit of tech involved. All right, so let's get into it. There is a free gift for you at the end, but you have to stay till the end. And I know it's election night. I know there's state of origin, and I know there's a lot of distractions, right? My cat just walked past, a tail in the air. These are the funny things that happen on Zoom. But yeah, so if you can just bear with me, I think you'll find it worth your while. In fact, if you don't, let me know, because I'll send you something. But ultimately, I can't imagine that's going to happen. I really want to make sure that you get maximum value out of this. So, and again, I've told Nick I tend to talk a lot. I'm going to try and stick to the time frame. But if I go over slightly, just please forgive me. I'm just going to say that up front. But you need to stay to the end to get my free gift. And it is worthwhile because it's all about how we've actually managed to systemize our clients' businesses and get infinite free warm leads. Now, does that sound pretty cool? I think it does. Awesome. So stick with me and I'll teach you how. Now, the first secret to business success, and I alluded to this before, is that it starts with you. All right. So ultimately, I was speaking to a gentleman back in, gosh, I can't remember what year it was now. It just seems like so long ago. And I was back in my corporate days. And he was very high profile. And I said to him, I just happened to be being mentored by him. I was lucky enough to be chosen to be mentored by this guy. And I thought, fantastic. I'm going to ask him the one question that really matters. And that was, based on everything that you've done, and where you see yourself right now and where you see yourself going, and your personal life, everything, what is the one piece of advice that you would give me? And he didn't even really hesitate, and he just turned around and said, back yourself. And I thought, how good is that? Because ultimately it is the case, right? If you don't back yourself, your idea, your concept, your service, and your product, then it's really hard to win people over. You've got to be sure of who you are and where you're coming from, and also, the business that you're trying to create. And yes, you can pivot a little bit if need be, but ultimately you really want to make sure that you are backing yourself. And what I mean by that also is that day to day, we've got to make sure that we are in a good place to be able to manage ourselves. Now, when I was winning that $54 million deal, I can honestly say to you that there were days that I just was so wrecked. I didn't want to get up. So I had to put some serious rituals in place So these are groups of habits that I put in place, around my morning ritual, my evening ritual, that just kept me going through the tough stuff, because there's always struggles and there's always tough stuff when you're trying to do something pretty huge, or you're just trying to learn something new, or you're going through a new economic climate, which we're all in right now. This is what matters. If you're going through a bit of a depressed stage at the moment for any reason, like something's happened in your life that has really messed you up, because we all have those moments, we're all human, then these are the things that will get you out of it, right? These are the rituals, the daily actions, the daily habits that will get you out of it. So I spoke to somebody who went through something really tough not long ago, and they said, all I could do was just try and make myself get up and have a shower, and I thought, well, that's a little ritual, that she built. And then she just built on that. Now that's pretty serious stuff that I'm talking about there. But what I guess the point of what I'm saying is that if you get this right, you can recover from anything. And a lot of the time being in business is about recovery, right? And in life in general. All right. So it also comes down to your personal values. So if you know what's most important to you and you make those the priority in your life, that's when you're going to live that fulfilling life, which is fantastic. So, we want that good life overall. So it starts with you. Your rituals will get you through those tough times. And essentially it's your consistency, commitment, and ability to adapt to uncertainty, which is kind of where we are from an economic perspective right now, is what's going to hold your family and your business and your finances and your property portfolio and everything else together. All right. So someone said to me once, and it's funny because I've just been at times where I've worked so hard where I've just almost burnt myself out. And so I've hired coaches, and one of the best ones said to me, you've got to put on your oxygen mask first. If the plane's going down, put on your oxygen mask first, or you're no good to help anybody else. So I liked that. So that's essentially where we're coming from there. The second secret, and this is, we're now getting into, the business side, right? Is systemization. Now, I believe in systemization massively because it just reduces the things that you've got to do, the tasks, because we are trying to do so much every single day as entrepreneurs, right? So, as far as I'm concerned, I've systemized my life like you would not believe. All my banking, everything that I can do is all systemized. But when it comes to online business specifically, then it's a case of making sure that you've got that systemization in place where possible, that your team know what your values are and what you stand for, and that you are collaborating together based around all of those things and committing to an inspiring vision. Okay, so that's the first point. Then the second point is systemization will help you stay in touch and build relationships and really nurture your potential clients as well as your actual clients. So again, it really, there's so many functions that it holds, but that's a really key one. Okay, so while you focus on delivering the exceptional service experience that you really want these clients to feel, because that's where you want to be focusing in, right? Is that service experience. At Telstra, when I was working there, they actually had service consultants as well as sales consultants because they wanted to add that extra element of service. And I think it's easy, when we're trying to make money, to take our focus off what is most important, and that is keeping our clients and ensuring we service them correctly. So service is really, going that extra mile is really important. Okay, so that's the second one, systemization. Now I have to say that, and this is where a lot of people go wrong with automation and systemization. We get so lost in building these funnels and doing all of these crazy things that they're talking about right now, that you possibly don't even need when you're first starting out. For anyone who's first starting out, you don't need all that tech stuff necessarily straight up front. But ultimately, you've got to make sure that you are enhancing relationships and connecting one-on-one. I mean, you've got to obviously have your business card, which is your website, which Nick can help you with. But ultimately, it's a case of making sure that you've still got those personal touch points. So automation is an opportunity to, yes, stay in touch and nurture those clients that, you want to become better clients down the track and repurchase and so on. But you can do this in a number of ways. So we can actually systemize your personal touch points. by using things like, Facebook Messenger chat, Facebook group conversation replies, email inquiries, phone calls, SMS text, Instagram DMs, and WhatsApp conversations. So we can actually make sure that your personal interactions with your clients, and obviously Zoom, events like this one, are really, still there, even though you're sitting in potentially your lounge room. All right. So if you can do these sorts of things, it really helps. But remember that systemization does not replace actually physically speaking to your clients at some point. All right. And that's honestly a mistake that a lot of people are making right now. It's just mass bulk emails out. So third secret is speed matters. Okay, now being a slight perfectionist myself, Nick would know this, coming from an event background, I really had to get my skates on because I became an entrepreneur. So what a flippin' wake-up call that was. So I quickly realized that I was being paid to, get results, not to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. It was very different to my corporate days. So it was, because you're wearing so many hats, it was just, wow, we got to get stuff out there. I got to get paid. So I realized very quickly that being that perfectionist was going to keep me in the poorhouse. And it really was different to your training, that comes from school, university, all of that, because I was a very, decent student. I was always aiming for good marks. But now I've learned that 80 to 90% is good enough. You just got to get it out there. Now I just get slide decks done like this one in a couple of hours, because I just force myself to. It's like I cannot be that perfectionist and get my business to where I need it to be. You've got to use your time so wisely. So speed really matters. So, taking forever to write an article, design business cards, do whatever, even things like, ebook covers, gosh, you can get lost in that stuff, as I'm sure you all know. And this is why, those apps that Nick was talking about are fantastic, because they just, again, they help with the automation. They just make things so much quicker, which is just gold for us entrepreneurs. So again, I don't worry as much about perfection. Sometimes I send an email out, there might be a little mistake in it. It's okay. I just don't even worry about it anymore. I used to reply and go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But, some of the best online marketers that I've come across do the same. They just send it out and they go, oops, there was a mistake. Or they send something out next time and say, we made an error in our last one. We've got a little free gift for you, for that. But ultimately, people make errors. It just makes you more human and more relatable. So don't stress about being perfect. Okay, so it really doesn't have any impact on achieving your big goals. It doesn't have any impact on basically, ensuring that you get that income through the door. In fact, it probably slows you down, which means that you're going to have a negative effect on your income. And I realized a long time ago that I just would never get anything done, if I just kept that up. So I'd still be writing my ebook from back in 2010, because as you all know, if you've ever done any writing, your writing is never finished. Okay. So moving right along, I guess another quick example is I wanted to create my first video program. Lots of other people at the time, this was back in 2010, 2011, they're renting recording studios, making sure everything sounds perfect. And here I am with my little headset, in my ears, just basically my laptop, recording. And this was nowhere near, I guess, the digital business was just back in the dark ages. It really was. Back then, I thought I was behind the times getting on, in 2010. But ultimately, back then we had not such great tech, or not such great systemization capability with the tech either. So we're very lucky now to be utilizing, or to be able to utilize, so much more that's come into the market. So now I've got, this beautiful microphone, but I didn't start out that way. I've got this fabulous thing here. But in the olden days, I call them the olden days, 10 years ago, I was literally using my headset, and the audio was not perfect, but I just got it out there. I got the campaign done, and I was just selling product while others were still focusing on the perfection of their business cards and their audio and everything else, and just taking forever to do it. I was just getting it out and getting it sold. Okay. And of course, we've got things like Canva now and all the things that Nick's been talking about. All right. So your goal is to implement short projects. And I suggest you do 6 to 8 week dedicated chunk projects and then have a little bit of downtime. So they're like little sprints. Okay. And ensure these chunk projects are not massive. They're not too much or you'll just continuously be defeated. But just make sure they're achievable in that time frame. And then make them part of larger 90-day projects that are obviously broken down into these little chunk pieces. So it's not too much for you to be able to handle at a time. All right. That's my suggestion. That's what's worked extremely well for me and many other entrepreneurs that I know who, get a lot done in their days. So the 6 to 8 weeks of little chunk projects work really, really well as part of larger 90-day projects. Okay. So make sure they're challenging and that you have real deadlines around them for yourself, but not unachievable in the time frame. All right. So the fourth secret for those who are starting any project or even just starting out as being an entrepreneur, and there's a couple of like Annie, starting out online, essentially I would say to you, don't wait for that idea to be fully formed or all planned out. Just, get in there and do what you need to do. Take that first step and the rest will follow. And you'll obviously, work it out as you go to a large extent. And again, it goes against everything we've learned in our lifetimes, but it's just get out there, just get started. And if you end up, going the wrong way, you can always zigzag your way back. It's like making a decision is better than standing still, right? So essentially, what have you been putting off? What is it that you've been putting off, wanting to get perfect? Is it a new program, product, or service? What is it that you've been just thinking about consistently or just putting, information down about, but not actually getting started on? So I suggest now that, we're after fast imperfection. We just want to get it started, get it moving, get it going. Let's do this, right? So just as far as I'm concerned, I started this business and I didn't actually even have a website, and I was able to just go out and start consulting. Okay, because I was dealing with, clients one-on-one. Now, I would suggest that is a great way to get started if you don't have the tech in place. Also talk to Nick, who can obviously create a website for you, because I think it is very important to have a digital presence. And I think probably most of you already do, but it is possible to create those relationships and get things started without that tech side if need be. Okay, so it's just do what you've got to do to get the dollars in the door. Make sure one of your goals is revenue generating. Okay. It's, I guess, an analogy is, when I had to renovate my bathroom, I knew the overall idea of what I wanted, the concept, but it was a case of just starting to pull those tiles up one by one and figure the rest out as I went. I'd never done waterproofing in my life, but I figured it out as I went. You just don't know what you don't know. Okay, so the fifth secret is choose the best game for you. And author Jim Collins, basically, he did a thesis that states the most successful companies are totally focused on the intersection of 3 of the most important considerations and questions. So these are, what are you deeply passionate about? What can you be the best in the world at? And what drives your economic or resource engine? So if you can meet, so it's kind of like, your 3 circles, they all intersect in an area. And it's like, what is that central component where you can really add value there? And then rather than trying to be everything to everybody, you focus in on that, because that is what's going to, one, if you're deeply passionate about it, it will get you through the tough times, and there's going to be tough times. Okay. And, there's always challenges in life and in business when you're trying to achieve something new or just something great in general that you're passionate about. If you can push through those tough times, it's, oh my gosh, I cannot tell you the sorts of challenges that I've been involved in over the past 10 years in building my business. Things were thrown at me that I would never have expected to have thrown at me. Clients, tough clients. I've had to fire some clients. It's been really hard in some ways. I've had to hire my husband, for goodness sake, to come work for me. Never thought I'd be doing that. So, there's things that you just figure it out as you go. But again, that passion will get you through. Okay, and what are you best in the world at? So for me, it's sales and marketing. So that's what I stick to. And obviously, I just learn as much as I can and be the best at that, be the expert at that. And what is it that you're going to get paid for? Because that's very important too, right? Okay, so one thing I've learned, and this is something I have to keep repeating to myself all the time, it's flow. It's not the force. I know everyone, you think of Star Wars, don't you, when I say not the force, but ultimately it's not forcing things, okay? We don't want to force ourselves through our days or through our tasks. It's really about finding flow as best we can. There are books written about this. I know it sounds a little bit out there potentially for some of you, but there are many, many books and many, many entrepreneurs who are very high level that talk about this. You've got to find what it is that you are in flow with. So you're working in the river, going with the tide as opposed to swimming against it. All right. So if you're really finding it tough, you know, you're doing your bookkeeping and you're finding that super tough, maybe it's an opportunity to outsource that or look at getting somebody in to do it for you. So there are things like that that I would suggest you just realize how you're feeling about a certain thing and make a note of that and just go, you know what, that's one of the tasks that I really need to hand off because it's just not me. Okay. So again, this is one of the best opportunities and best pieces of advice that I could give you is just go with what you're really good at, spend your time there. And a lot of it should be customer facing if you're an entrepreneur and sales. You know, ultimately you need to spend time there. Okay. But also building out systems and a lot of other back end things, you know, the creativity, you know, you want to be in the creative zone as much as you can because that'll keep the juices flowing. All right. So it's choosing the best game for you. So here's a really good tip as well. And I got this from an extremely high level entrepreneur and he's incredible. He just had me, you know, fixed on what he was saying when he was presenting. And, you know, ultimately he said, the marketplace is crowded at the moment, right? We're seeing a lot more people come in and certainly from overseas as well. Sorry, that's my cat. Playing with something in the background there. I did warn Nick she was going to get on screen. She normally does. But ultimately, you know, it is a little crowded out there. It's becoming more so. Not to say that, you know, there's still stacks of opportunity and more people are needing assistance, especially if you've got that back end capability of systems and, you know, tech and, you know, the admin side, you know, all of that is fantastic because more people are going to need that from an online perspective. But if you really want to stand out now, you don't try and be the be all to everybody, right? You need to become a specialist. And I think this is a super important point that, you know, I can lose focus on sometimes because sales and marketing is so broad. It's like, what part of sales and marketing am I really, really good at? And for me, it came back to, you know, systemization and automation and lead gen. Right. So there are 3 key points and content creation that converts. So they're my 4 actually key points. Okay. So they're the ones that I chose out of all of the things that I could have done from a sales and marketing perspective, because I've pretty much done it all. You know, I've done one-on-one, I've done lots of things, events, everything else. And I still do those things. But the key things that I'm selling and that I'm, you know, talking about most of the time are those 4 things, because they're the 4 things that I feel most people struggle with and most people need help with. And therefore I can become the expert at and really assist with. Okay. So another point here is like, you know, I've dabbled in Amazon products, e-commerce, all sorts of things. And honestly, I look back and I think, I wish I just had have stuck to what my core business was meant to be all about, because I just sort of wasted time doing that. Now, having said that, it was worthwhile because I learned a lot, and, you know, now I can go out and do some e-commerce stuff if I want to, or help clients with e-commerce, more to the point. But, you know, really it took me away from my core focus. I hope everyone understands where I'm coming from. So really try and become that specialist, you know, because here's another example that this gentleman used that was speaking to me. He said, people don't want to go to a GP for their heart. You know, they want to make sure that if they're getting operated on or, you know, seen to about their heart, that they're going to a heart specialist. So there's a really good analogy for what you guys need to think about when you're trying to become that business person and find what it is that you're specializing in. All right. So be the heart specialist, not the GP anymore. Okay. All right. So again, I knew things like how to set up a website, not that I'm an absolute expert in it, but I can do it, how to become more productive, how to write books. So I've done all of these things. But again, it's really a case of just focusing in on the things that really matter, and the things that I've decided that I want to sell to the marketplace. So choose your niche very wisely, stick to it, make sure it's something you're passionate about, thinking about all those things that Jim Collins said. Successful companies focus on delivering products and services that they can be the best at and ignore all other opportunities. All right. So I think I've made that pretty clear. And I've mentioned about being passionate. It's the key to get you through those really challenging, tough times. And staying power. We need staying power as entrepreneurs. You just got to hang in there sometimes. Hang in there and hope for the best a lot of the time. And, you might have to pull that parachute every now and again because we're free falling a lot. All right. So in addition to systemization, I think I've covered this already. So as far as seventh secret, it's really finding the right people for the right tasks. So going back to what Jim Collins said, what are you deeply passionate about? What can you be best for the world at? What drives your economic or resource engine? And I would add 2 more things to that. Who can help you achieve it? And solve a problem that people will pay to have solved. And again, competition is a good thing. People get freaked out by competition. I have in the past, trust me, I've been like, whoa, there is people that do this way better than me. But you know what? It shows there's a market for it. So that's actually a good thing. Okay, so if you've got competition, there's actually a market for what you're doing, which is fantastic, right? That's what we want. So, and you can look and see what they're doing and potentially, add bits and pieces if you think that that's going to fit in with your model. All right. So keep an eye on what they're up to, but don't get intimidated by them because it's actually fantastic that they're there. So finding the right people for the right task goes on. So can I just say, we are the most stressed out people generally because we, see this grand plan of what we want to do and where we're going. And half the time we want it too fast, right? Is anyone guilty of that? I certainly am. I want things way too fast a lot of the time. So as I work with clients, those that are not doing it all themselves are the ones that really, have the advantage. And this is where I'm just trying to coax you into thinking about that. Is there an opportunity to outsource here? Okay. Get somebody who really knows how to do it. Just learn the bare bones of it, the big picture stuff, but outsource the rest. And again, these are big entrepreneurs that make these mistakes when they, want to just make sure that they've got control of everything that's going on, rather than handing off to somebody that's really good and having faith in what they're doing and just checking in with them consistently. Now, you do need to be making sure that you are obviously checking in with them, but ultimately, this can be broken down along with your vision to build in a system that you want that achieves those automation goals overall. So just make sure that you've got a good client experience at every single step. And usually you can't do that all on your own. Okay. Now, your competitors, again, are playing hard in the same space, vying for your customers. So we know they're there. We know they're there. We're not going to get intimidated by them. It's good that they're there. But here's the thing. You're better off choosing one marketing strategy and tweaking it until it becomes really great. So it could be a webinar. It could be, something like this, what Nick's doing here, a group meeting of some kind, or an event online. Events are usually a day, sort of webinars are about an hour or so. But ultimately, it's a case of making sure that you perfect that strategy, you get that really right, you get that going. And this gentleman that I was listening to speak, he said that his webinars, because I'd been playing around with webinars for a while and I hadn't had a lot of success, and I was just thinking, what the heck's going wrong? And it was so gratifying to hear this gentleman say to me, that he was having the same problem. And I'm like, really? It's not just me, that is having this issue, because I'm following all the supposed rules and I'm just not getting, the results. And he said that he was speaking to one of the best webinar people in the world. And he said to him, how long did it take you to perfect the webinar strategy? And he said, 10 months of tweaking pretty much every single day, if not every week. And I'm like, far out. That is something we all need to know, because it's not a case of putting a webinar out there and forgetting about it. And it's a case of continuously testing and measuring and tweaking your results, and making sure that you don't hand that off until you know that that's working, or don't make it evergreen until you know that that's working to its fullest capacity. And it's a case of, again, just tweaking until you're able to get it to a point where it's actually converting. Okay, so don't let that go necessarily. It's not that the strategy is broken or that it doesn't work. It's just you need to find the right formula. And it's a case of honestly testing and measuring the marketplace. Okay, so your best feedback is your clients. They're going to give it to you. So make sure you're talking to them about what it is that they want to see. Okay, so excuse me, it's not a case of saying, it didn't work out the first time. You've got to get it right. I might need some water. And just test and measure continuously. All right, so that's really, really important. And again, I'm just going to say, become excellent at one or two sales methods and hire others, or outsource essentially the ones you're not so great at. Okay, because there's so many ways of filling these funnels, right? And a funnel, all it is just getting clients in the door. And it could be social media. Like I can do social media. I've done social media for people in the past. I tried doing it, but it's just not my thing. I just don't really want to be posting every single day and being a social media specialist. And as I said, I tried it out because I just wanted to know for myself if I could do it, and I can, but it's just not my thing. So I would outsource that to somebody, who is wanting to do those sorts of tasks every single day. Does that make sense, guys? These are really important points, because we can get stuck in doing those things, but they're just not in that flow area for you. They're not your thing. So you've got to pick the things that you're really keen to work on, get those right, smash them out of the park, and leave the other pieces to the people that are really good at it. Okay, so play to your individual and collective strengths, and make sure that you have a commitment to tweaking and obviously leveling up and improving the game that you've decided to play, and making sure that you get that great outcome. So invest in your people. So this again is large picture strategy. Make sure you invest in your people, spend time with them, train them, make sure that they're becoming more effective, because we're paying for people's time. And we can either get 2 clients booked in from them, or we can get 10 clients booked in from them. So it's a matter of ensuring that you pick your best salesperson or your best sales strategy, and you make sure that you roll that out to everybody in the team and turn it into a system. So that's what I would suggest for everybody, is to making sure that you're noting all of those things that are actually working, turning them into systems, and then training your teams on them. Okay, so I'd just like to throw in here for us entrepreneurs, who are, probably some of the most stressed out people on the planet, according to a lot of stats. Dr. DeMartini says we maximally grow and develop at the border of support and challenge. So you guys are growing at a rate of knots right now, which is fantastic, being entrepreneurs, especially if you're parents too, or, potentially grandparents. So juggling all of this is no mean feat. So finding the right people for the right tasks, we're still on our 7th secret. So do the tasks you're naturally good at, and the ones that are going to make the big difference in your business. All right. So an example is, decide which software or CRM to use, and what's going to really help your company. Then step back and just know the outskirts of how it works, but step back and let somebody else do the day-to-day. So that's a really good, I guess, example of where you might need to take your hands off a little bit. And I guess another analogy is, can you sail the ship with just a captain? No, be the captain, not the captain and the entire crew. So find the right people that can help you. Okay. So I'll talk more. I don't have time tonight at all to talk about hiring, outsourcing, and onboarding, but you can actually find really good quality, cheap resources in the Philippines if you'd like. And got to make sure you onboard them really, really well. That onboarding process is really important. It will certainly engage them. Speak to their values, find out what it is that they want to get out of, their job and their roles. So make sure that, it's not just all about you. You're actually delivering, what it is that they want. Because if their values are being met, their personal values, and it always comes back back to that. If their personal values, like feeding their family and maybe having a good time at the same time and a few laughs every now and again, or I don't know, contributing some kind of charity or whatever it is for them, or maybe getting you to send them a coffee every couple of days is what makes the difference to them, then I can also say make sure you try and do that, because that's going to engage their personal values. They're going to love coming to work and they're going to love being part of your team. All right, so mission critical roles, just make sure that they're doing the tasks that really matter and they're going to make the best difference to your results, because that is so key right now. So key. Efficiency and effectiveness of every single person in your team is so important, especially in these times of uncertainty. So using profile tools is a great way of doing it as well. There's plenty of those around. I can throw some links in the chat, or maybe next time, if you want to come on next time I'm on, I think Nick will tell you whatever date that is. I can provide those then if you wish. Now the 8th secret, efficiency, again, as I said, is what we're after. And I think I've pretty much covered this, honestly, because it's just a case of ensuring that, whether you get your 10% sales returned or 40% is a case of making sure that people know what they're doing and you've got those systems in place and they understand them. All right. So 9th secret is ask good questions. So Tim Ferriss, gotta love this guy. The 4-Hour Work Week. I read that book years and years ago and I thought, is that even possible? Seriously, I'm not sure it actually is for an entrepreneur, but I love his questioning here. What would it look like if it were easy? What would this look like if it were easy? Now, how good a question is that? Okay, so maybe we need to start thinking about how we can make our lives a little easier. And ultimately, this is what I'm talking to today. So, he says if you feel stressed, stretched, thin, or overwhelmed, it's usually because he's overcomplicating something or failing to take the simple or easy path just because he feels like he should be trying harder. Old habits die hard. And I think, again, this goes against all of our training to try and find the easy way. Oh my gosh, let's find the easy way. There's an 80-20 rule. We did an impact ease graph when I was first working for an entrepreneur that Nick knows very, very well. We used impact ease graphs, and it was honestly saying which strategy, we listed out all the strategies that we could think of, which strategy is actually going to have the biggest impact and be the easiest to implement. There's that low hanging fruit. So I think just make sure that you're thinking along those lines. And I would also add, is this the most efficient, effective, and leveraged way of doing this particular activity? And if not, what is? Okay. Oops. There we go. All right, so the 10th is test and measure. Look, I've already touched on this point. There is no point in flogging a dead horse, but make sure there's a champion in him. Sorry, I haven't said that very well. Let me try again. It's getting late. There is no point in flogging a dead horse, but make sure that there's not a champion in him first, right? I love that. I came up with that. Oh, thank you. I just thought, seriously, it's so true, right? We've got to enjoy the process and challenge of learning. We've got to believe in ourselves and our team long enough to give a project time to come to fruition and not throw it in when you're just about there. Do you know how many people do that? They think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get there. And we're just about there. And then they just chuck in the towel. So just don't do that. Think of that champion racehorse. It's in there somewhere with the right training. So know your numbers. Gosh, I cannot tell you how important this one is. Some of the best entrepreneurs in the world state that this is, and because I'm really in my spare time studying entrepreneurs and how they think and how they feel, because it's so important to me to get this right, and be able to pass on this information. And again, these might seem very big sort of strategies in comparison to the ones that you do sort of on a daily basis, but these are the things, again, that are going to make the biggest difference to your business. So I would say to you, know your numbers. Make sure you've got an accountant that's on board, a bookkeeper that's on board, or if you're doing your own bookkeeping, know your numbers. Know what you need to achieve to ensure that you're going to make that profit. Know, your cost of acquisition. What is it going to cost you to gain a subscriber? Your cost of sale. So if you've got someone purchasing, what does it actually cost to get them to the point where they're going to buy? So number of sales then to cover the costs. How many sales do you need to make a profit? Number of sales to achieve your profit target. I mentioned that already. how many people therefore do you have to pitch to make that many sales? Or how many emails do you have to send out? Or how many people do you have to have on your list to make sure that conversion, when you know that maybe you're only converting 3% of your entire list, essentially, how many do I then need to have on my list, and how can I grow that? Super important to grow the list, guys. That's what you can always fall back on if you're having financial difficulty. That's what some of the biggest entrepreneurs like Russell Brunson and a whole bunch of others have said, is their list is ultimately what's kept them out of bankruptcy, because they've always been able to go back and send out emails to their list when they're in a bit of trouble, and sell something. And where do you find them? Okay, so make sales, build relationships. So 12th secret. All right. So huge focus for entrepreneurs has to be on making sales, or there is no business. We all know that, right? And it's so easy to get caught up in that back end stuff and the systemization and everything else. But it's one of your activities every single 90 days has to be revenue producing. All right. So entrepreneurship and sales go hand in hand. Even if you're not on the front lines of your business's sales team, basically developing sales skills is absolutely critical to your success. Now, a lot of people freak out when I say sales, but think of it as, and that's why I put it in the brackets there, building relationships. That's what I've always done. I take a genuine interest in my clients like they're friends, right? And that is what makes the difference in my world, because I am good at building relationships because I genuinely care about people. I want them to be successful. And that is what makes the difference. I can honestly say that that is genuinely what makes a difference in the lives of my clients, because they know I have their back, right? It's not just my back that I have. So, and that's honestly, I cannot tell you how important that is in the world of online marketing right now. There are so many people who just want to make a buck. I'm sure you find many of those people in your inbox right now. So essentially, selling is a lot more than just getting people to buy. It can help you build relationships with your clients. It can get you featured in the media. It can expand your audience. And what else have I got there behind my little box here? Oh, yes, my strategic partnerships with another company. So if you wanted to build a joint venture or a partnership of some kind with another company that had a similar target market to yours, or similar products to yours, then you can go out and say, hey, how can we make this work? In that, I could potentially promote your stuff and you could potentially promote mine to warm clients. Now, warm versus cold is the key there. We're really trying to find warm target clients that have been warmed up by somebody else, okay? And then going to introduce you to them. So how are you going to drive sales in your business? Right? The answer is a variety of methods. So then you've got to build a funnel to capture them all using systemization. All right. So this is part of the sales process. Now, we're not going to go into massive amounts of detail about how you build a funnel. I can do that. I can go right down that rabbit hole if you want me to. And I may well with Nick at some point. But again, we're keeping this fairly high level. We all know funnels exist. Ultimately, it's just there to catch your leads. All right. So relationships will never be fully replaced by technology. So I've said that before, I state it again. Really important to remember. In addition to systemization, you still need to engage in those one-on-one conversations and relationship buildings, because ultimately, systemization and automation just enhance it. So again, as I said before, there are certainly ways of doing that, which I think I've touched on earlier with Messenger and, WhatsApp groups and all sorts of things. Obviously, Facebook groups and things like that always help as well, as long as you're having conversations with people. So build relationships and trust to make sales. Genuinely care, have your best clients interested at heart, and be present in meetings. Now, I know that sounds so obvious, but do you know how many people go into meetings because we're all so busy, right? This is what I learned in corporate. I thought to myself, you know what? I was not even present in that meeting with that client, and they could tell, and I was not on. It just didn't feel right. So I made a pact with myself that no matter how busy I was in my day, if I was going into a meeting with a client or a colleague, that I was going to be fully present. I was going to put all that other stuff to one side and I was going to be fully present. And you know what? That's when my career took off. I can honestly say that that is when my career took off, because I was absolutely present with them at that moment, and they knew it, and they knew I cared, and they knew they had my full attention. I was able to give them everything that they need, or everything that I could give them, in order to ensure that that relationship continued to be built at all times. Because I tell you what, they can tell, you know, if you're asking questions that you've already asked, or you're not prepared, or your head's in another zone, it's obvious to people, right? I think you all have experienced that. So if you can ensure that you are fully present and engaged in what you're doing with your clients, and this goes for family too, this is all relationship building stuff, then I suggest that you make that an absolute priority. Oopsie, hang on one second. There we go. So the 13th secret is needing a proactive long-term strategy. Okay, so not a reactive one. Now, I was in reactive mode for a really long time, okay? I'm just going to try this. I'm just going to try this, see what happens. Or, oh my gosh, that happened. Now I'm going to do this, off putting out fires a lot of the time. What is a proactive strategy, guys? Just run some ads. That's not really a strategy. That's just a method, bringing people in at break even, giving them a great experience, and then upselling them. Now that's a strategy. Getting a great team together, upskilling them and training them, to get more out of them, and making sure that they're loving the process. Now that's a strategy. Running lean and constantly considering your expenditure, that's a strategy. Right? So what I'm saying is really think about those strategies that are going to make the difference and stick to them. All right. Minimizing, refunds, things like that. There's strategies that really matter and make big differences in your business, as opposed to the reactive ones where we tend to spend a lot of our time if we're not planning. And that's why that planning process that I talked about earlier in this presentation was super important. The 6 to 8 week sprints. Okay. As part of your 90-day plan. All right. I hope you guys are getting some good value out of this. Everyone's still awake. Yeah, excellent. Good. It's getting a little late. And oh gosh, I've only got 10 minutes left. All right, let me keep going. I better get moving. There's only 15, so we're almost there on the home stretch. So look, dealing with fear and rejection. This has been a huge one for so many people, right? Sales, they freak out as soon as they hear it. I would say to you, overcome your fear with knowledge. So, and honestly, practicality. Be practical. Think like a practical person would. Put yourself in the shoes of your clients if you need to, but just honestly stay in practical land rather than letting your emotions take over. What is the next logical step? That's a good question to ask. But it's just, really upskill yourself with knowledge. Be planned. Go into meetings with your plan, really know what you're doing, but don't spend too much time on it. Just know 20% more than perhaps your client does if it's still something relatively new to you. Now, you can become that expert down the track, but as long as you know 20% more than your client, you're still in a position to be able to help them. Okay. So I put here, does the thought of chatting with potential customers give you the jitters? It does a lot of people. Does the idea of pitching your idea to an audience make you sweat? It certainly has me before. It's made me very nervous and made me sweat. First webinar I ever did, oh my gosh, I talked too long. It went for 3 hours and it was a bit of a mess, I'll be honest with you. But I can say that I just got better at it over time. I just did it more and more and more. And the more that I did it, the better I got at it. Okay. So it's like anything, learning to ride a bike. You just have to keep doing it until you get good at it. That's how I got good at sales. I was proving to myself the entire time that I was actually capable of it. I didn't know I was going to be able to pull off a $54 million deal until I did it, right? So it's that whole thing about just making sure that you believe in yourself enough to just keep going and keep practicing a particular situation. So, it's educating them as well before they come in and talk to you, so you're not wasting your time or theirs. And some people just need that bit more, hand holding and information. Other people just skim over it and just want to have a chat. So, it does depend on your client, but I can also say, educate them, educate yourself, just use knowledge to overcome those fears and do whatever it is that you're concerned about. Just keep doing it, right? It's that whole Nike saying, just do it. So arming yourself with knowledge can really help, with presentations and all those sorts of things, make them a lot less intimidating, make your client a lot less intimidating. Do your homework, know your product that you're selling inside and out, research the company your lead works for potentially, familiarize yourself with your customers' pain points. This is important as well. In all your marketing, you should be talking to your customers' pain points. So make sure you understand who they are, what keeps them up at night, and talk about those things. Perhaps rub it in a little bit, and I only mean a little bit, but I'm just saying, get them to the point where they're feeling it a little bit, and then tell them that you can provide that solution, all right? So you're trying to help them go from where they are here, in that little bit of a pain situation, to taking that pain away. Someone called, I can't remember who called it, the Panadol solution. So you're basically the Panadol, right? You're between here, that pain point, and them feeling better. So essentially, you've got to talk to that in your marketing and everything that you do, and in meetings and so on as well. So the more you know, the less you'll have to be afraid of when you're put on the spot. All right, put yourself in their shoes, be prepared to negotiate, make it win-win. You can generally come up with a win-win no matter what the situation is. I've done contra, I've done all sorts of things in my business. That's the beauty of business, is you can exchange services as well. And that is particularly important at the moment, I think. A lot of you guys out there in this group could exchange services with each other and help each other out. Now, how good is that? You don't have to. You just have to agree. The thing that I would say with that is make it very clear what you're going to deliver, okay? Because some people's expectations are different to yours. So ensure that you list out what it is that you're going to deliver if you're looking at, exchanging services with people, because that is a real winner if you don't have stacks of cash, okay? So another good point there. So manage expectations and over deliver, right? So once the sale is made, or just even from the get-go, when you're starting a relationship with somebody, you don't want to be disappointed. You really want to have a great experience, because that'll keep them coming back. And there's a great analogy for this, and I write about it in my little ebook. And my ebook, I call it an ebook, it's a digital book. Essentially, it is, all about, it has all these little analogies in them. And, I like to tell little stories when I'm talking about these things, because these are the things that you remember. And they're the things that I remember, people teaching me. And I think it was my sister who said to me, in business years ago, she said she had been told by somebody in her career, when you're doing a report for somebody or whatever it is, you've got a deadline, say to them, okay, I'll have it done by Thursday. And then push that out a little bit. So Thursday's pushed out a little bit. When you can have it done by Tuesday, right? And then you send it to them on Tuesday. And of course, what are they going to think? They're going to think you're pretty awesome, right? Because you said you're going to get it done by Thursday. So you've managed their expectations and you've exceeded them. So that's a really good example. And you probably won't forget that, because I never did, that example, because it's so important. At this point in time where the marketplace is and everything else, you've got to exceed people's expectations, but you've got to manage them first. All right. Because we forget half the time when we're delivering something to our clients, we try and, perhaps do the opposite and say, I'll have it done by Tuesday. And then, oh my gosh, it pushes out to Thursday. And that's not looking too good. Okay. Because that's not great service. You want to just give yourself that bit extra time to ensure that if there's any hiccups, you can manage it, and then just try and get it to them that bit earlier. And that's just one example of many, many that I could bring up. But ultimately, it is ensuring you're over delivering. Okay, because this way we get to hold on to our clients. It's far easier to, hold on to a client than it is to try and find new ones. So we want long-term clients. Repeat purchases is what we're going after. Even if they don't repeat purchase, they may refer somebody to you. But ultimately, it's having those great relationships and networks. They're super important. Nick, we came across each other a bunch of times in our lives, haven't we? It's so weird. But, we didn't mean to, but it's like our stars have collided a whole bunch of times. And, Nick was one of the best people on my team when I was doing events back in the old back in the old days, I called them the old days 10 years ago, BC, before children, for me anyway. But, he was incredible because I asked him to do something, when we're at events, because I was managing them. He obviously had his own business and was doing a gazillion other things at the same time, but he was totally on, and he was amazing at what he did. And I can honestly say he stood out in my mind, because that he was just delivering. And that was only, that's when we found ourselves in that situation. We've been in many situations since, but, it's never left my mind that he's a great guy. He does a great job, and it's just, first impressions last. And again, you just never know when you're going to come across people's paths. So I would say try not to burn bridges, because again, it's a small world. So make a promise, keep it, and you'll stand out from the crowd and potentially even get good testimonials, which is what brings in that extra business. So I might leave it at that, guys, because my free gift. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot the free gift. Okay. So if you want instant access to our video series, which is how we grew our clients' businesses, what have I said there? Putting their sales and marketing on autopilot and created infinite free warm leads. And that's genuinely what we have done many, many, many times over and over. Then head over to that URL there, because you'll get my book, so Secrets of a Seven-Figure Deal, and I'll be teaching you how I brought in those multi-million-dollar contracts and all the things. It's over and above what I've stated to you here today. I go into more detail, and there's different strategies in there. I wrote that back, when I won those big deals, so you're getting the best of me in that book. But also, we've got obviously the video series as well. So, and there's a masterclass in there, and there's a whole bunch of freebies I throw out at you, because again, I'm walking the talk. I'm trying to create this relationship with you guys. Whether you buy or not down the track doesn't bother me. I want you to have a great experience. Okay. Now, I hope you've had a great experience here with us tonight. Look at this. Oh my gosh, I'm 1 minute over, Nick. Wow, I'm impressed by my timing, because normally I'm, at least 10 minutes over. I'm a classic speaker who just goes over time. So make sure, I might leave that slide up for just a minute or two. So it's www.wisdombiz, WIZANDBIZ. So Wisdom and Business is the name of the name of the company.com. Head in there and you'll see the box pop up above the fold. You just pop your name and details in there, and we'll make sure that you get all the goodies that I'm handing out, and there'll be more in future as well. I'm creating some new ones just at the moment, so a bit of a tip for you. I just couldn't quite get them done for tonight. So anyway,
I've dropped that into chat as well too, so the link's in chat for anyone to click on.
All right, I'll stop sharing now and I'll hand over to you.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks, Colleen. Man, how much information was in that? That was an absolute wealth of information there. So thanks for your generosity with all of that. That's amazing. Any questions there from anyone, or any sort of clarifications? Just unmute yourself and come on, ask a question.
I think we got someone watching State of Origin there.
Yeah.
You did warn us.
All right. Oh, someone was asking, that's right. Someone was asking whether you were happy to make these slides available.
Can I come back to you on that? Is that okay? If I come back to you,
That's fine.
No, yeah, I just hadn't even thought about that one, to be honest, because I only just put them together. So leave that one with me, and I'll let you know if that's all right. Definitely the recording anyways on YouTube, right? Is that right?
Yeah, the recording's on YouTube. So the best thing to do is to head over to the YouTube channel and just search for Smash Go. That's the YouTube channel. I'll get the link dropped into chat here as well. Go and subscribe to the channel, and also click the little bell that's next to it, and that way you'll get a notification once the video gets uploaded. So we should have it uploaded tomorrow. We generally have it up the next day, and then you can go back and watch it again, and obviously all the slides will be on there as well too.
Anybody else with a question about anything I've spoken about tonight? As I said, I'll be back. When am I back? Nick, do you know when I'm back? I'm back soon, a couple of weeks. I think
you're asking me. I don't organise the stuff. I've got this automated. Someone else handles all that.
His assistant organises him. But yeah, I'm back in a
Yeah.
couple of weeks and I'll be going into a bit more detail. So if you want some more detailed stuff, some really cool strategies, I'll be sharing those as well. So just feel free to join us. But yeah, if you've got any questions in the meantime, where should they go, Nick? Should they just save them up?
Yeah, save them up, drop them into Business Owners Smashing It Online, the Facebook group. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group, go and join that. And you can drop your questions in there, or I'll put into Messenger to me as well too. And we'll pick those up and save those up for next time. Or if they're quick questions answered, then we can get out an answer to you.
Yeah, we'll make sure they're answered anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back. Hello, Paul.
So the link to Business Owners Smashing Online, that group is in chat. So go and join that, because that's where we make all the announcements. And we also put some cool stuff up in there as well too. And we'll probably put Colleen's link in there, I think, for Biz and Wiz as well too. Okay, so we've got YouTube, the YouTube links there, the group links there as well too. Sorry, Colleen.
I was just saying Wiz and Biz, not Biz and Wiz.
Wiz and Biz.
It's all good. Easy done. Not a problem. I was just trying to make it super easy for people to remember, so they didn't have to remember wisdom and business. So there you go.
Yeah.
So if you just wisdom and business, you'll get it in the right order.
Awesome. Oh, that's excellent. Well, thanks very much for your time tonight, Colleen. I know it's a little bit later for you down there than it is for us up here in Queensland. Go the Maroons. So
you won the election, didn't you yet? Is Trump in?
The election was pretty. The Trump-Biden election's pretty close. The last result that I saw was pretty close. So I guess that'll be coming out tonight, or it might be sort of another 6 months dragged out, depending on whether Trump wins or not.
American politics. Yeah, I can't keep up.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a big night for many reasons.
It is. But a couple of other announcements. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning is this is 10 o'clock in the morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be 11 o'clock, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania. What's that? 10, 11 to 1 o'clock New Zealand time. We have the office hours. So office hours is a coffee chat. So just come along at 10 o'clock in the morning, our time. And, bring a coffee, bring a tea, glass of wine, whatever you have at that time of the day. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It really is, if you've got a question or just want to hop into a discussion about anything to do with your business, or particularly the online side of things, we've got a good group of business owners that really just hang out and have a good chat. It's a focused chat. And it is really about business, and we get into some pretty good topics. So love you to come along to that if you can make it. There's no speaker, no agenda. What you bring along, that's the agenda. So that is tomorrow. The link is also in chat now for you as well. And then next week we're back to our Tuesday time. So we'll be popping the announcement for that one up onto Facebook, particularly into the group, into Business Owners Smashing Online group there, and on Meetup. So it's all over the place, and we'll email it out to you as well too. So love you to come along to that as well. Hopefully we'll get to see some of you tomorrow at office hours as well. Big thank you to Colleen for your sharing with us tonight, and look forward to you coming back in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, whenever that is. My people will sort that out.
Look forward to it.
And if the State of Origin's still going, Paul, so well, let's go out and have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow or next week.